So, good morning, folks. It's 8:01 and we are at the intersection. Here we are, July 10th. My two favorite numbers, 7 and 10. It's gonna be a good day. Um, so we're gonna take some time with announcements to get as many people into the Zoom room as possible and be able to hear this. But the good news about this morning and every intersection, we record and then get that information out. But I think this is important, an opportunity, a great opportunity to learn about how we can help and how we can help in ways that don't hinder the process, but really help people on the ground. So, does anybody, and I'm sure Doug will, have announcements this morning? Doug.
2025 Pathways to Hope Conference registration is open. 10th year, registration's free, CEU's available. I mean, what more can you ask for? We hope to see everybody as usual. Great lineup of speakers and workshops put together by everybody across the community. So we want to see you there.
Thanks, Doug. Nice, concise communications this morning, Doug. Bill Neely, don't you have some stuff on sacred.org coming up?
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. We are conducting, we're really trying to ramp up our in-person and Zoom listening sessions. So increasing the opportunities for people to talk to us about Sacred, about how it's helping their needs and where they need additional assistance. A couple of very specific spaces. One is in the space around disability support. So both physical disability as well as learning differences. We're interested in talking to people that are either have that life experience or that are working for organizations that are providing services to those populations. And that's a partnership with a collective here in town called the IDD Champions. We're building a massive portal. One of the really interesting pieces of that is we're trying to identify the retail establishments that have developed very open and welcoming environments for people with disabilities, whether it be mobility related or job related, or the types of tables and chairs that are being used, proximity of the bathrooms to the doors, things like that. So we've already uncovered a lot that are really interesting places, and we are hoping to do more of that. So think like things like a barber that knows how to cut hair for somebody that doesn't like to be touched, right? We like to identify those types of services. So we're very excited about that. So if you are interested in participating in that, let me know. We've got some things coming up, and we'll be happy to get you on the calendar.
And for both of you, Bill and Doug, if you want to put any of that information in chat, that would be great. We also have a domestic violence prevention conference coming up, but I don't see anybody. If there's somebody in the call that has that information, that would be great. Otherwise, I will go and find it and put that in chat as well. That's, I think, next week maybe, or the following, off the top of my head. So, any other announcements at 8:04? Other than I'm glad that you're all here this morning. All righty. So, again, I'm so glad you're here. I wanted to remind some of us when the Uvalde mass shooting happened earlier in the week, it just so happens that the lead person from the Sandy Hook mass shooting happened to be in town. And somebody in this network said, "Did you know they're in town?" And so quickly, we invited her to the intersection that Thursday morning. And out of that intersection, before we were even done, we had formed a collaborative for people in San Antonio to be looking at violence prevention locally and what we need to do. But of course, also, what was happening in Uvalde. But, and that was great. And some wonderful, amazing things have come out of it. But what she shared with us was really important that morning. She said, and this isn't rocket science, she said, don't go to Uvalde unless you're invited, unless you're needed. unless you've been asked to go. And then she also said, and don't start making stuff up. Find out what's really needed and help with that. This is just really basic community organizing. And we have such strong community organizing in San Antonio that I thought that this was also a great time to give not only examples, but current things that are happening as the examples so that we know how our community is working together and that you can find out about that and others can find out about it. As with all of our At the Intersections, it's recorded, and I will be sending this recording out the minute I get it to all 500 of us in this network to share with others. So it'll be current information, but it's long-term and ongoing in how we work. And so at this point, what I want to do is throw the conversation over to Ken. Ken is the chair of the San Antonio area VOAD, Volunteers Organized. I never can remember what the A stands for. Ken.
Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster.
Activated during disasters. Why can't I ever remember that A part? The A part really is the harder part. So I'm handing it to you, Ken. I know that VOAD is going into the Kerrville area as the backup system. So tell us what is happening and what VOAD helps with during these disasters, which include like hurricanes as well. And then how can people later become more involved with that?
Okay. Good morning. Thank you, Ann, for inviting me. Actually, I've been wanting to get involved with this or contact this group for a long time. Just try to grow our network with the VOAD here in San Antonio with everybody. Friday morning, for some reason, I got up like at 5:15 and I saw what was going on. I usually watch Channel 20, ABV Fox on 29 in the morning first thing, and they're already showing that the flood had hit. I'm also the South Geo lead for Team Rubicon because you got to be part of a VOAD to be in the VOAD group, right? And so I got stuff going for Team Rubicon, and I called Shirley. We went ahead and put the VOAD on standby that morning, just put the word out because it was a holiday, and before people started doing things for the day, I wanted to get the word out that we were monitoring Uvalde, and for what we were hearing at that time, we were definitely going to probably be needed somehow. Saturday afternoon at 3:00, I had the first call for members of the VOAD, and I was really impressed because on a Saturday afternoon on a holiday weekend, I had over 50 people on that call that were, hey, we're here, we're ready to help. But the word that we were putting out the first couple of days was, don't respond into Kerrville yet unless you've been called in by Tatum. Because at that time, especially those first 3 or 4 days, it was strictly, they were on a search and rescue mode because they were still rescuing, people that were alive or, cleaning the trees and things like that. Now it's gone more into recovery mode. We've had a lot of organizations on. There's a lot of national attention to this. I have a call this afternoon with national and state VOAD. The Long-Term Recovery Center has been set up. It starts today. There's a lot of outside groups that have come into Texas to help. And like everything else that's new and sexy, eventually they're going to leave. And I'm thinking the support that Kerrville and some of those other communities up there are going to need, they're going to need from us later on when everybody else is left and they're going on to the next disaster. So the communities like yours and all the other members of the VOAD here locally, we're going to be needed. Some of us are up there now. Team Rubicon started Monday with the Volunteer Reception Center. Tomorrow, their fob is being set up. There's going to be 30 gray shirts in Hunt getting ready to help people in their homes. And everything we do, there's no charge for it. So, and Team Rubicon is known for being in there for the long haul. We don't just show up and leave in a week. So, I get what I'm going to need from this group and other groups is Be patient, prepare. If you have people that want to volunteer, have them join a vetted organization, because in a lot of these places, they're not going to let anybody in there unless they've had a background check. Because like with Team Rubicon, we go into people's homes, we take out furniture, we take out jewelry boxes, we move safes. So we got to make sure everybody's passes a background check before we'll let somebody go into somebody's house. So Salvation Army, Red Cross, Team Rubicon, there's some other big national organizations out there that are looking for help. So if you have people in your congregations and things like that, hey, I want to do something, well, sign up. My recruitment numbers 2 weeks ago, I had like 9 people had signed up for Team Rubicon for South Texas. I have 52 counties from here down to the Rio Grande Valley. 2 days ago, I looked, I had 264 people had signed up. So that's what we're here for. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions or anything.
Sounds like you could use a volunteer to help with all your volunteers to go through those 200. Yeah. I mean, that's the truth, right? And that's part of what can happen at this time is that so many things show up at people. There aren't enough other people to process all that stuff, right?
True.
The 264 volunteers or the 3 tons of clothing that was just dropped off or something, right? Right.
Yeah, that's been my fear. Because I looked at what happened in North Carolina after the floods they had last year. People are dropping off bags of clothes that weren't washed or cleaned or anything, and some of these smell like cigarette smoke. Just getting rid of, dumping it. And a lot of this stuff ended up getting thrown away because it couldn't be used. And we were supposed to have a meeting today with the food bank. That's been postponed to next week because Emily's on her way to Kerrville right now, so we had to reschedule that.
This is a PSHS meeting that just.
We're trying to work out that type of logistics. Redefine the plans. I know some of that was done during Harvey, and we're just trying to update everything and make sure everybody's on the same foot. So
that's a great transition too to what the food bank is working towards. And I know that we've got several folks here from the food bank, Lauren, but I think Emily's going to talk about what is in the process and planning to help. Emily, are you with us?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning.
I apologize for not being on camera. I am in transit, but I'm really appreciative at the opportunity to be here today. And I'm Emily DeMaria. I'm the Chief Programs Officer at the San Antonio Food Bank. We are actively involved in flood response. For some context, we serve 29 counties, so we're focused on both Kerr and surrounding counties, as well as Tom Green up in San Angelo. We are part of Feeding Texas, a statewide association of food banks, as well as Feeding America, a national network of food banks. And so both those organizations are also sort of behind us and supporting us in our efforts here in our local communities. As you all know, we have a large warehouse, a fleet of tractor trailers, trucks, equipment, and staff, along with volunteers. And so we're definitely actively involved. And I wanted to highlight just a couple things going on with us and how you can get more information if you're interested in working with us or volunteering with us. We would welcome it. Some of those highlights include planned distributions in the impacted areas, especially starting tomorrow in Kerrville at Antler Stadium, with another on Saturday at a local wildlife and feed store, in San Angelo on Saturday in conjunction with the United Way and San Angelo ISD. And we'll be finalizing those throughout the month. We have a normal calendar of those distributions, but of course we're ramping those up given the current situation. Secondly, we partner with a network of food pantries and congregate meal sites. And so we're also focused on ensuring that our network of partner agencies have the product they need, because we know that they are also critical in our local communities. Additionally, our call center is fully staffed, and we're able to assist families with SNAP applications or replacement SNAP applications. And I'm going to tell you that phone number, but I won't be able to type it in the chat, but happy to follow up via email. But that number is 246 9121. Additionally, we're assisting with donations management in conjunction with the Salvation Army in Kerrville, really kind of serving as a relief valve to help ensure they have what they need when they need it. So that includes, sort of being a relief valve, allowing them to divert product to us where we can keep it in a separate inventory just for them. So if something's donated to them and they can't manage it live, we can have that available and then deliver it to them as needed. So that's definitely a role that we are playing and want to make available because we know not everyone has the sort of scope of resources that we have in the warehouse. And then, of course, we're responding to requests that we get from other active agencies on the ground. We are seeking volunteers, funding product donations. We have a website that was set up specifically for that portion of our website, and that's at safoodbank.org/disaster relief. And so all of the latest and greatest in terms of the distributions, our needs, product needs, how to sign up to volunteer, all of that can be found there. And I think, as you mentioned earlier, a couple of y'all, we're focused on short-term relief and response, but really, of course, this is about long-term recovery. And so these are communities we serve every day. Y'all serve every day, and we really want to make sure we're there for the long term as well as obviously meeting these immediate additional needs. So that's a quick update from us. Happy to answer any questions.
So, Emily, from what I understand and hear from you, is that if there are donations, like if people are working on that, that those can be placed at the food bank, where then they're stored and then they're deployed from there as those are needed in flood response, which is a great thing. I remember, who knows whether that was Hurricane Harvey or what, but I remember one guy loading up his entire camper on his pickup with paper towel and toilet paper and headed to the coast. And I'm like, and
Right,
then what happened, right?
right.
So that's kind of the point within the San Antonio community where those things can move to.
Yes.
Is there going to be a listing, or is there a listing of what those needs are somewhere?
Yes, there is a listing on our website, and kind of to that point about short and long-term delivery, obviously some of the national immediate response has been, water, cleaning supplies, hygiene kits. And so those are definitely needed, and we have those and are receiving those and getting those out. But also it's really about that ongoing effort. And so people are going to need to completely restock their home pantries, so all those staples are also super important. And we do have a list on that site. And that's definitely the place to go because we are updating that as we are getting additional requests. And of course, I'm not looking at it at the moment, but I think you'll see a mix of those more immediate need items for the disaster, but then also that longer term, just how do we be there for the community long term? How do we restock everyone? And those pantries that are located locally across our 29 counties, especially, of course, in these flooded areas that they're going to need to be meeting the need every day too. So that's a couple different ways we can get them out through multiple or other organizations as well as directly ourselves. So definitely appreciate it.
And now we're going to hear from one local faith community, the Ismaili community. They're known for their coordination efforts within the community. And I just remember too, it flew through my head, like any of us need to be reminded of this, but financial donations, they will go a long way. So, and you all know probably where you place those donations, but donations to help in all things could go like to the food bank. I do know that one of the banks, I believe in Kerrville, has been set up for financial donations, and I'm going to try to find that real quick and put that information into chat. So that would be financial donations that would be going directly to what's happening there on the ground in terms of flood response. So I'm going to look for that while I introduce to you our friend Wahida Kara, and I know she's with us. So Wahida's a leader in the Ismaili community. Well, you tell me what your organization is doing and how that is being pulled together.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So, I just wanted to mention that during a disaster, all of us want to help. It just hits home, and everybody just wants to feel like they were a part of the solution. And sometimes, what we've seen in the past during Hurricane Harvey, there are times where we can actually physically help, but in the bigger scope of things, it is far better for us to help our local pantry because they're organized and this is not the only disaster that they're dealing with, right? So I think we always look at it from that lens. Of course, if we need hands on the ground, we'll jump in and offer that. And I'll definitely get in touch with some of you, especially with Boyd, because we have in our region, we have over 5,000 volunteers. So definitely to be able to mobilize them and get the background checks done and all of that. But what we're doing this morning, Anne, is we are supporting the flood by having a flood relief drive. We were grateful to the San Antonio Food Bank. Of course, I think Lauren, Kelly, and Emily, they're all on the call. And we're grateful to them for really supporting us and then jumping on board and providing us the resources we need to make this happen. It is going to start in exactly 38 minutes. And it's supposed to be a really, we're supposed to have a good turnout, you know. I did share the flyer with Anne, so that does list all the supplies that we'll be collecting. Basically, we're collecting it for as a flood relief collection. It is all going to the pantry. So then from the San Antonio Food Bank, they decide where and when it goes and disseminate them as it's needed. But I think on our end, and if we can organize ourselves in a way where we can support in all of these different areas. Monetary is always there, very easy to do, just click a few buttons. I think the hands on the ground where everybody wants to physically be there, can we organize ourselves to make that happen? I think that would be something worth looking into. And then on our end, we are doing the Smiley community is hosting a flood relief drive here in San Antonio this morning and tomorrow morning in Austin in Cedar Park. There we're working with Reveal Pantry and supporting their efforts because as they help during these disasters, they are also needing more supplies. Their pantries need to be refilled. So that's what we're there for. Please reach out. Here you go. Anne has shared the flyer. These are the donation items that is needed. We're going to be there this morning from 9 until 2. The San Antonio Food Bank truck will be there. Our partners for this event is the Food Bank, the South Texas Merchants Association, Interfaith San Antonio Alliance, and Smiley Civic, which is our outreach wing. So any questions, please feel free to ask. You're on mute, Anne.
Thank you, Wahida. I was closing the screen. So I think we'll open it up right now to any questions, comments. What a great, I think, briefing of how the process works and what things are happening and how people can become involved and organize. Let's see if we have anything in chat. Where can we drop off clothing donations? Can somebody speak? Are they taking clothing donations yet?
So actually, I reached out to Goodwill to answer that question because oftentimes people want to drop off used clothing to the food bank, and we don't have the capacity to take that. And so I can send the information to you and Goodwill in Kerrville, I think, is in Kerr County. I forget which one it is, but I'll send it to you. They have opened for specific donations like this. I'll send you that flyer so you can send it out to folks. But yeah.
I would say the biggest thing in situations like this that becomes a difficulty are clothing donations. They're needed, but it's also one of the most complicated one Clothing really needs to be cleaned, all of it, or it can't be used. I think Ken had mentioned earlier that some clothing they had received was smoky, and that's just plowed under. That's landfill. So I think what we probably need to do is to look at maybe having Goodwill or somebody be a local
Yeah. With
place
my,
and not Kerrville.
yeah,
And but it always needs to be clean. It needs to be sorted. There aren't volunteers sitting around to do that kind of thing. And I know
right.
tons of clothes have been put into the land because of this type of thing.
I
It's
guess for
just
this one, I just want to give to the right person because I was scheduled for Dress for Success, but now with this, I thought,
mm,
let me just put it to better use because I've already sorted it myself, pants with pants
oh,
and shirts
good.
with shirts and dress with dresses and blankets. So I know this one would, but because mom passing just here recently, I know it's but I just want to give it to somebody who I know may need it. So I'll just hang
Right.
on to it till they call for clothing. Thank you.
That'd be great. And Bill has his hand up, and so he might have some more information with Sacred.
Yeah, thank you. So I was going to echo, and I think Ilse already got to the point of, maybe to wait. You've got this stuff. People are going to need things in the weeks to come, so it doesn't have to happen right now.
Yeah.
There's I want to just echo what we've been seeing at Sacred. We've put on our site only information about monetary donations as well as echoing the requests of the Kerr County officials to not go to Kerr County, unless you've been specifically invited to go there. So that's what we've been echoing. And I've also been seeing a lot of reports. The information is very fluid about, all the donation warehouses are full, et cetera. So stay away. I think it's important that we all follow the lead of the people that know. Lauren at the food bank, VOAD, those organizations, they're the ones that are in regular constant communication. They know what the current information is. So that's whose advice we should follow. I have been seeing through the VOAD mailing list that they are collecting names for people who can do volunteer for debris removal and other things coming up in the future. And I'm wondering if the representative from VOAD can maybe talk about if they need help broadcasting that through the community or if they've got that covered. They've got some sign-up sheets for people who have chainsaw experience and other types of disaster recovery that they're trying to collect information from. And I'm wondering, do they need our help broadcasting that, or or do they have that covered?
I would take any help you can offer right now.
Okay, because we can post
Yeah.
it. We can post that information on Sacred, but if we do, people are going to see it, and so I don't want to overwhelm the response. And we would couch it with, like you've done in your email, that this is not for today, right? This is
Right.
What can you do next month?
Yeah.
Not,
Like I said earlier,
tomorrow.
yeah. There's a national response going on. You've got these different task forces coming in from all over the country right now from these different fire departments. My adopted home state of South Carolina is here right now, but they're going to be gone. Those deployments, now they can rotate, but those deployments are only for 14 days at a time.
Yeah.
And maybe after that first group leaves at day 14, there may not be a need for a second group to come in to fill that spot. So eventually, all these organizations are going to be gone, and it's going to be up to us here locally. And the other thing that I'm already looking at is long-term care or long-term recovery, because this is a unique disaster because you had people with their cottages and cabins along the river that did not lose a primary home. Okay, so they don't need a bunch of clothes and stuff because they still have all that back in San Antonio. Then you got, these camp groups that were up there, all these campsites. I don't know if any of you see the map, but every camp up there has damage to it. Of course, there are some homes in Kerrville and for Ingram and Hunt that were damaged, and those are the people that are going to need our help later on. So,
yeah. And we have ways now to communicate all of that. So there's no reason for it. We should be able to do a very concerted, I love that word, the concert of an effort, a very concerted action together. So Thank you, Ken, for that information. And
You're welcome.
in the chat, I also mentioned that any of us that need to leave and get on with their days, thank you for being here. And if Ken, Wahida, Emily are able to stay on a little bit, if there are any more questions or comments from our attendees this morning, we'd love to hear and have that conversation. Ken, do you have somebody who's helping you vet all those applications and everything? I'm serious that you're getting?
The Team Room kind of has a system set up where people can sign up online and they do their background check, and then they have to take a couple of module courses in order to be deployable. But we're supposed to, I'm supposed to have a membership person that actually reaches out to every new gray shirt. This is what we call it because we wear gray shirt. I actually have one of my red ones on. But just reach out via the phone call or email. And I'm trying to put my daughter to work doing that right now because she is a gray shirt, but she's also laid up right now because she had foot surgery. So she's taking care of some homework right now too. But I'm overwhelmed with the support, but it's a lot of people that we still really should need to reach out to and say, hey, thank you and welcome, and stand by and be ready for a deployment. This past I think Sunday, a request came in for the Volunteer Reception Center at the Salvation Army. And I actually went up there on Tuesday, talk about overrun with supplies. But they had a request out for 12 people to help answer the phones and things, because people are calling, where do I volunteer? Where do I donate and all this stuff? And we put the call out, I think Sunday afternoon. And for 12 spots, we had 100 people sign up within an hour. So it's like, okay, be patient. You may not have got a call this time, but we may need you next week or the week after, so.
Right. Let's see if there's anything else in chat. There are some links in chat that people have been finding and pulling up and sharing with everybody. So make sure you pay attention to that. Billy, how quickly do you think we'll be able to get the link on this, the recording?
Within the hour for sure.
Okay, thanks. I'll send that out. I'm also going to look and find that in VOAD, there are several groups, so everybody knows, not just Team Rubicon, but there are also volunteers who do things like spiritual and emotional support, right? So what I will get is that basic list of the kind of work that comes through VOAD, through volunteers, and how to get connected with that kind of outreach and volunteer efforts. So I'll put that information in as well. Any other comments, questions from the crowd? So what? Yes.
This is Mario from the food bank. Yes. Yeah. I just want to say what a great call and great coordination here and information that's being shared. And I think the theme of, wanting to help, but you don't want to hinder, I think is spot on, because that is exactly on some levels what's happening. A lot of folks converging up in the hill country to help, which is good, but folks are trying to coordinate and streamline and make sure that resources, volunteers, other support is coordinated so it can really affect and impact the people that really need it. And so that is really important. I just wanted to say, you mentioned, I heard folks talking about Hurricane Harvey and Uvalde, and the San Antonio Food Bank responded to Harvey. We were chosen as the staging place by Feeding Texas and Feeding America, and worked with our sister food banks on the coast. But Uvalde and Sutherland Springs, both in our service territory. And as a matter of fact, Sutherland Springs, that church was one of our pantries, and one of the ladies, there was two ladies that worked that pantry for us. One of them lost their life and perished in that tragic situation. And so when you look at all the response that's been given, not only by our food bank, our sister food banks, and other organizations, when you talk about Harvey, and you talk about the Carolinas, and you talk about Louisiana, and you talk about Florida, and you can go on and on and on. these type of events can take a long time to recover from, many years. And so I know it was mentioned on the call that there's going to be support that's needed for these families and the folks up in the hill country for a long time. And we're here for the long haul, and it takes community support, just like on this call and the coordination. So wanted to say perfect call, perfect timing. So thank you.
Well, you can thank Bill Neely. I mean, he was like, he prompted. So thanks to Bill Neely. And, and it all is connected. I have a nephew right now who's in the Carolinas helping with that. And, that's down the road, right? And it's still needed. And that's going to hold true with this flooding that we've had recently. Beverly, your hand is up.
I was just wondering, sir, if our people who are have been justice involved, are they allowed along with we've got a group of young people who are not in jail but on probation, people in terms of volunteers. So I've gotten AmeriCorps reached out to me. Probation Parole has reached out. Are they welcome? And I have to ask because I don't want it to be an embarrassing situation for them if they wanted to come and help.
So you're asking Ken, right, Beverly?
I think so.
And it's okay either way. I just want to.
No, I don't. I think as far as Team Rubicon, we probably, because there's all the process. But if they were to go up there for say they're doing daytime labor work,
sure,
where they're not going into people's homes and stuff, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that.
Okay.
I know there are the other problem. That's part of this whole problem we've had up there too, is the spontaneous volunteers just showing up and with no direction and no contacts. But those, that might be some of the best things for some of those kids to get out here and sweat and see what happens and find out what life is really about.
I thought the same thing, and in fact, it almost seems you are really, even though you don't realize, you're really manning a volunteer, center, and that's so very needed because people are just showing up, and that's why I wanted to ask before I got back to folks. But I think you're absolutely right. It will be a huge learning experience. People be understanding how lucky they are.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
of the world.
I was involved with the Youth Corps program in Sumter, South Carolina, when I was on the police department, and I'm proud to say that program is still going again this summer. It's been going on for like 30 years now.
And I did that many years ago too, and it was really things that helped shape my life and my career and wanting to work with high risk kids. So good. We're a brother and sister in arms. So
yep.
I'm so glad you did that.
And Beverly, that's exactly what VOED is. It's volunteers organized, right? It's a volunteer center. And Ken, we work a lot and talk a lot in this conversation about community collaboration, right? And the impact and the efficiency and effectiveness that happens when you co-labor together. But for all of us, if we kind of, looked at a drawing of this, VOAD is a very huge community collaboration, right? It's huge. Yes. And San Antonio Food Bank is also a huge community collaboration. It's a different form of collaboration, but lots of geography working together, right?
Yeah, and they're part of us. Because the VOAD falls under the ACOG, so we have that 13-county area around San Antonio that we're responsible for. And we go as far north as Gillespie County and Fredericksburg. So this is on the northern edge of our area, but it's still in our area, so we're still obligated to help. And a lot of times at the VOAD, we're talking about things that are going to happen in Bexar County and San Antonio. And my fear has come true because we have this major disaster out in the hill country. And luckily, I had already built a relationship with the Kerr County Emergency Manager, Doug Thomas. I met him last year. And I think he came to one VOAD meeting a couple of years ago. So I already had that contact out there. And I've been trying to do that with some of the other counties in case something does happen. But more
that's the other thing. Yeah, it's the other thing, Ken, that we talk about, that all of this, then, that community collaboration, all of it is based on relationship. And it creates relationships, right? And it
Right.
creates caring. And so, in our last couple minutes, the one thing I want to offer is prayer. And when I say that, I know we've all heard the conversations over the years in different situations. Well, they're just praying, about it. We need to be into action, or, we need the prayer. And if without the prayer, that's a huge conversation about prayer. But what I would like to invite us to think about is how we each become the prayer, like becoming the plumber. If
Right.
you're a plumber, you're the person that goes plumb. Well, the prayer is the person who prays. And then in our actions, we become then that prayer in the world. So I think that prayer is both that a holy and sacred conversation, but it's also that holy and sacred action in the world. It's both. And so I invite us all into prayer and to be prayer at this time and in all times. And I want to thank Ken and Emily and Lauren and Mario and Wahida and all those who have stepped up this morning. But all those Kens and Marios and Laurens and Emilys and Wahidas who've been stepping up when there are disasters and what's happening with our neighbors during this time of flooding. So thank you, everyone, for being with us this week at the intersection. And I'll see you next week at the intersection. I'll be sending out an email sometime today with the recording and some other important resources on it. So be watching for it because you can use it in your congregation, your organization, your neighborhood association. So have great days. Be grateful for this one. Thank you so much.